Have you ever wondered how our digital world doesn't just collapse? I mean, it's under constant attack. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain. We're going to see the world through the eyes of security researchers, mapping out the global battlefield and getting right down to the lines of code that protect us all. All right, so here's the game plan. First, we get the big picture. What are the threats out there? Then we'll put on our detective hats and see how researchers piece together clues from really incomplete evidence. After that, we'll get our hands dirty and dissect a real-world hack. Then we'll look at the arsenals defenders use, and finally, wrap it all up by giving you the playbook to build your own proactive defense. Okay, let's dive right in. Look, before you can defend any fortress, you have to know what kind of weapons the enemy is using. For us, in the digital world, that means mapping out the most common, most dangerous weaknesses that are being exploited in software right now. This right here, this is basically the cyber criminals playbook, the 2025 MITRE Top 25. It's built from data on almost 40,000 real-world vulnerabilities. And sitting right at the top, number 1, is an old but incredibly stubborn enemy, cross-site scripting, or XSS. It's been around forever, but its top ranking tells you it is absolutely not going away. I mean, seriously, just look at that gap. For the second year in a row, XSS isn't just winning the race, it's completely dominating. Its danger score is more than double the next one down. Why? Because pretty much every website or app has to take input from users, and that is exactly where XSS loves to hide. So what in the world is XSS? The simplest way to think about it is this. It's a flaw that lets an attacker trick a website you trust into delivering malicious code for them. That code then runs in your browser. It's like getting a dangerous secret message delivered by a friend who has no idea they're even carrying it. Now remember that idea because we're going to see it in action in just a bit. But here's the thing, not all threats are the same. Researchers have two main ways to measure them. Think of it like this. CVSS tells you how big the hole in your fence is. It's the technical severity. But EPSS? Now that's the interesting one. It tells you the probability that there are actually burglars in your neighborhood actively looking for holes just like yours. That second score, the likelihood, is a total game changer when you're trying to figure out what to fix first. Okay, so we know what we're up against. But how do the good guys analyze these things to build defenses? Well, they use something called a proof of concept, or a POC. It's basically the blueprint of a hack. The problem is, those blueprints are almost always broken.
100%. Let that sink in for a minute. A huge study in 2025 found that every single publicly available proof of concept report is missing critical pieces of information. Not some of them, not most of them, every single one.
Can you imagine that? Trying to construct a building when every blueprint is incomplete? That's the exact problem security teams are up against every single day. These pokes are what attackers use to build their weapons and what defenders use to build their shields. Having missing pieces is just incredibly dangerous. So how are researchers dealing with this mess? Well, they've basically built an AI detective. This system hoovers up hundreds of thousands of these broken reports from all over the internet. Then it uses these super smart AI models, ones that can read and understand technical jargon like a human expert, to find all the missing clues and automatically piece the full puzzle together. And the results? They are absolutely staggering. This system successfully fixed and enriched almost 70,000 of those broken reports. This is so much more than just some academic paper. This is about turning fragmented, useless data into a powerful weapon for defenders and leveling the playing field. Okay. Enough theory, let's get our hands dirty and see how this all plays out in the wild. We're going to break down a real-world hack that targets one of the biggest platforms on the planet, WordPress. This is where the rubber really meets the road. Just look at how fast this all unfolds. It's insane. On December 12th, XSS is officially the #1 threat. 11 days later, a security company finds a brand new XSS vulnerability in a popular plugin. A day after that, Christmas Eve no less, it's public. And by early January, the whole cycle is starting over again. The speed is just relentless. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. This particular flaw was a stored XSS, which is extra nasty because it means the malicious code gets saved right onto the website's server just waiting for a victim. It hit the calendar plugin, and all an attacker needed was a low-level contributor account. And pay attention to that CVSS score. It says 6.4 medium, but I promise you that is seriously misleading. Here's the play-by-play.
An attacker with their basic contributor account makes a new event in the calendar. But in the description box, instead of, team lunch, they paste in some malicious JavaScript. That code gets saved. Later, an admin comes along, clicks on the event to see what it is, and boom, the script silently runs in their browser, and the attacker can steal their session and take over.
And once an attacker hijacks an administrator's session, it's game over. They own the site. They can deface it. They can steal all the user data. They can redirect visitors to phishing sites. You name it. This is exactly why a so-called medium vulnerability can have catastrophic consequences. So, tracking just one vulnerability is already a headache. Now imagine trying to keep tabs on thousands of them every single day. Welcome to the world of operational intelligence. It all runs on these massive databases that are like the central nervous system for the entire cybersecurity world.
A huge one is the GitHub Advisory Database, but you gotta know how to read it. See, you've got GitHub Reviewed Advisories. That's the gold standard. They're curated, they're verified, and they'll trigger those automatic depend-about alerts in your code. Then you have Unreviewed, which is just a raw fire hose of data that you have to sift through yourself. Knowing where the info comes from is crucial.
And the scope of these databases is just massive. We're talking about pretty much every major coding language you can think of. So whether you're working in PHP, Python, Java, JavaScript, it doesn't matter. There's a system out there designed to watch your back, specifically for vulnerabilities in all the open source libraries you rely on. All right, we have seen the threats, we've seen the detective work, we've seen the intelligence tools. So what do we actually do about all this? How do we build a defense that actually works? Well, it all boils down to one word: proactive. You can't wait to react.
45 days. Burn this number into your brain. Research shows that as soon as a vulnerability hits that 45-day mark, it becomes a juicy target for automated bot attacks that are just scanning the entire internet for easy victims. The clock starts ticking the second a vulnerability is announced. That is your window to act.
And that means you need a disciplined process. This isn't about frantically clicking update and hoping for the best. It is a constant 4-step cycle. You monitor the threat feeds. You test every single patch in a safe place so it doesn't break everything. You deploy it strategically, and you always verify that the fix worked. That discipline is what separates the secure from the breach. And if you're the one writing the code, you are the first and most important line of defense. 2 golden rules could have stopped that entire WordPress hack we just looked at. First, the principle of least privilege. If a user doesn't absolutely need permissions, do not give them those permissions. And second, always treat user input like it's radioactive. Sanitize it, escape it, make it safe before you ever display it back on a page. We've covered a ton of ground, from the 30,000-foot view of global threats all the way down to a single line of code. But the one thing you have to remember is that this landscape is always changing. The same amazing AI that's helping researchers can and will be used by attackers to find new vulnerabilities faster than we've ever seen before. So the real question isn't just, are you secure today? It's, how are you getting ready for tomorrow?